Good morning, class. How are you doing, all of you? Hope you are doing good. And we have started the new chapter, playing with constructions. Yesterday we learned about curves, and then we moved to drew some waves, and now today we will continue with the properties of square and rectangle. Now the square, we yesterday did properties of square, that hope you remember all sides are equal and each angle at the corner of square is right angle or 90 degree. So this is what we learned yesterday. Now similarly we also learned the naming of the square. So if you have a square, how would we do the naming? The naming should be either clockwise or anti-clockwise. But you can start with any one of the corner. That is up to you. But it should be either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Clockwise or anti-clockwise, depending on your choice. PQRS, SPQR, RSPQ. So suppose this is the square I have given you. So what are the names that you can write? You can write PQRS, then SPQR, then RSPQ, then QRSP. So in this way I have gone through anti-clockwise like this. PQRS, SPQR, RSPQ and QRSP. So like this you can go through anti-clockwise, or you can go clockwise. So you would have RQPS, starting with RQPS, then you can write QPSR, QPSR, then PSRQ, this is the naming, and then SRQP, SRQP. So depending on the figure, the number of corners decide how many letters would be there. So here there are 4 corners, so the naming would consist of 4 letters, and in this way you would name. For example, how do you name a line segment? Line segment has 2 endpoints, so you name, there are 2 letters in the line segment. And how you name the triangle? Triangle has 3 lines, so you name it accordingly. 3 lines, so 3 corners, and your triangle name is consisting of 3 letters. Similarly, if it is a square, you have 4 corners, and therefore you can write it in 4 letters. So in this way you have to do naming. The names which you cannot use, few examples you can give, like QSRP, QSRP. So this is wrong. Then PRSQ, PRSQ, this is also not correct. So in this way you should know that how to name square properly. Now same question has been asked before the figure it out, that which of the following is not a name for this square, and you have been given a square with PQRS. So let's first name it according to the book. So suppose this same figure I take of square. So the naming is R, Q, P, and this is the naming. So which of the they have given you four options, so you have to see which one of them is not correct. P, Q, S, R. So P, Q, S, R. So this is not correct because here neither you are going clockwise nor you are going anti-clockwise. So P, Q, S, R is not there. We see rest of them. SPQR. SPQR is correct. Then RSPQ. RSPQ is also correct. And QRSP. So this is also clockwise. So all other three are correct. So let's do it. Just wait. We write here. So you have been given option PQSR. Second is SPQR. Then it is RSPQ. And then it is QRSP. So PQSR is PQ and SR. This is not the correct naming. All other SPQR. So SPQR you are going clockwise. SPQR. Then RSPQ. RSPQ. Again you are going clockwise. So this is also correct. And then QRSP. QRSP is also correct. So last three are correct. The first one is not correct. Now next is rotated squares and rectangles. Similarly, you can do it for rectangles. Now what are rectangles? Suppose I make a line segment 6 centimeter and another line segment of 4 centimeter. Then again a line segment of 6 centimeter and then a line segment of 4 centimeter in this way. So what type of figure do you get? This is a what type of figure? This is different from square. How it is different from square? You can see that AB has been, I have drawn AB to be 6 centimeter and AD to be 4 centimeter, BC to be 4 centimeter and CD is 6 centimeter. In this case I had drawn 4 centimeter, 4 centimeter, 4 centimeter and 4 centimeter. So we have studied that all sides are equal in square. स्क्वायर में सारी साइड्स इक्वल होती हैं. बट what is the difference between square and rectangle? So rectangle has two equal sides. And what are those two equal sides? The opposite sides are equal. Means the one and other is facing it, not the sidewise. Okay. So AB is facing CD, is opposite to CD. You can say AB is opposite to CD and its measurement is 6 centimeter. Similarly, AD is opposite to BC. Its measurement is 4 centimeter. So therefore you can say that the opposite sides of rectangle are equal. So in properties of rectangle, when we talk about, we say that we say that opposite sides of rectangle are equal. Okay, so therefore AB is equal to CD is equal to 6 centimeter and AD is equal to BC is equal to 4 centimeter in this particular diagram that we have made. So refer to this diagram here in this diagram. One property, what is the second property? Second property is same as in square. What we learned that in square all the corners are right angle or 90 degree. Similarly in a rectangle also all the corners are right angle. So this property is same for square and rectangle. So you can say that all the corners of rectangle are right angle. Okay, so this is what you can observe from the figure. Now what are the observations? Again the naming. So naming is similar. Again you don't have you don't get confused. Naming of rectangle is also similar to square. Either you go clockwise or you go anti-clockwise. Okay, so that's the same. So here the naming would be A, B, C, D. If we talk about naming A, B, C, D, then you have B, C, D, A, then you have C, D, A, B, then you have D, A, B, C. So these four, then you can take another corner, you can start from another corner, or this was anti-clockwise, now you can go clockwise. So what would you write? DCBA, this is clockwise starting from D. Then you can write CBAD, so I can write CBAD. Then you can write BADC, BADC. Then you can write ADCB, so ADCB. Okay, now what are the wrong names of, if I ask you what are the wrong names, so what you would pick? Any other except all these are wrong. So say AD, DBAC. So this would be wrong. DBAC is not clockwise, neither clockwise nor anti-clockwise. Okay, are you understanding clockwise? Clockwise means how the clock runs. The minute hand goes from, it goes like this, clockwise. And if anti-clockwise means the opposite direction of the clock. The opposite direction, minute hand and hour hand goes clockwise and anti-clockwise would be the opposite direction. So you can name like this. Then you ADBC, this is also wrong. See, ADCB is correct. ADCB is correct. This I have written here. ADCB is correct. But ADBC is not correct. Okay, so this you have to keep in mind. Similarly, crossing of points is also not correct. BDCA is not correct. So BDCA is not correct. All these three are not correct. So you have to keep in mind this. Now we come to rotated squares and rectangles. Now rotated means you change the orientation, like you change the orientation of angles. Similarly, when you change the orientation of the squares square or rectangle. Okay, so changing orientation, like in angles, what you used to do, how angle is made? Angle is made of two arms. Okay, remember, ray made with two rays. Now two arms, you can change the direction of the angle, but did the degree of angle change? No, the degree remains same. The measurement of degree or measurement of angle remains same. Similarly, if you have a square or a rectangle, the degree of rotation does not change its sides or this is 5 centimeter, 5 centimeter, then 5 centimeter, and this is 5 centimeter. So now this is the first that you make. If I rotate it, suppose I change the orientation, then how can I make it? Suppose I make it like this, 5 centimeter, then now how would you make the rotated square? We had learned that right angles have a shape of L. Okay, right angle has shape of L. It is not visible to you. Right angle has shape of L. So without measuring, how would you make? You would try to, with your observation, you would make it 5 centimeter length segment and L shape like this. So this is L shape. Here also it should be L shape. So this L shape, and then the last one you just join with each other, you would get the square. So now this square has been rotated. You can say that this square has been rotated. So my corners A, B, C, D, if I take, so this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. So rotation of square does not change anything, does not change the measurement. Means the line segment would remain 5 centimeter and the corners would be right angle and L shape. So rotation of square does not change the measurements. Square does not change the measurements. Measurements means whatever you are measuring, like the line segment length or the angle, corner. Now we rotate a rectangle. So what you have to keep in mind for rectangles, that its opposite sides are equal and non-opposite sides are unequal. This is also important. Like if I make it 7 centimeter and I make this adjacent side also 7 centimeter. So this would not be a rectangle. Means the adjacent means the one touching the other, the one which have a common point. These two sides should not be equal, otherwise this would become square. So if you are taking one side as 7 centimeter, the other one should be different from 7 centimeter. So let's make it 8 centimeter like this. So this is 7 centimeter and this is 8 centimeter. Wait. Now it is correct. So similarly, if you rotate, all corners are 90 degree. So suppose you name it PQRS. Then if you rotate this figure, then also nothing would change for the same reasons. So my 7 centimeter would go like this. So this is 7 centimeter and again the 90 degree would be L shape. So make it as L shape here. Then 7 centimeter L shape here and 8 centimeter L shape here. So the rotation, this is 7, sorry, this is 7, this is 8, this is 8 and this is 7, and your orientation becomes PQ R S like this. Okay, here it is 8 centimeter and this is 7 centimeter. So likewise, if you rotate rectangle, the measurements does not change. The angles remain 90 degree. The line segments length remains same. So rotation of rectangle does not change measurement. Now all measurements and all things we are doing just by, like 90 degree angle you would see by observation. So this you have to keep in mind that the guess part of the angles is your task of doing it. So now let's move to figure it out too. First question is, draw the rectangle and 4 square configuration as shown in figure 8.3. Okay, so let's see what is figure 8.3. Okay, configuration on a dot paper. Okay, so we see the, it is, I think page number 192. It is squares and rectangles, figure 8.3. You have to draw it on a dot paper. So basically first we make dots. Though this question you can try, so let's make dots first. So you have dot paper, so you can directly start with drawing the rectangle. How you would draw the rectangle? Rectangle should be drawn using ruler with opposite sides equal to each other and the angles should be 90 degree. So the question is that how would you draw the squares which are at the corners of the rectangle? So this is the question that they have asked in first part. So just try to observe the figure that you have four squares at the corner of four squares which are aligning with the corners of rectangle. So how would you align? You would go diagonally or you would go slanting way to align them. We did exercise for angles where we drew slanting lines. So slanting lines you have to connect with the rectangle. So let's join. Suppose I get a rectangle here by joining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots I am taking and 2 dots below. Okay, 2 dots below and 6 dots horizontally. 2 dots vertically. This is horizontal, this is vertical. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots horizontal and 2 dots vertical. Okay, 3 dots basically. 3 dots vertical, 3 dots you have to join vertically and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots horizontally. Now you have to make squares which are aligning at the corners of this rectangle. So basically you have to go diagonally here. So suppose, so I need more dots here. So diagonally you go, diagonally means in a slanting manner. Just draw a dashed line for your own, making it more easy, and then start the square. So we would draw the square using 3 dot lines like this and 3 dots. Square has equal sides, so 3 dots horizontally and 3 dots vertically. So in this way you would join the first square. How you are going? You are going diagonally. This you remember, that this is the diagonal points 1 and diagonal points 2 I have made. Similarly, at this corner you would go one diagonal point and second diagonal point. So you would make the second diagonal point as the corner. So in this way, here 2 points, 3 points for horizontal line and 3 for vertical line, and you would get square. So this is the figure you obtain. Similarly, here you would go 2 points down. Okay, so now what you have to do is you have to go 2 points down here. So this is the, how many points we have taken here? This is 1, 2. So because of spacing some difference would occur, but in your dot papers it should not be like that. So you draw it at the corner, 2 dots here and 2 dots here. Like this you would join. So let me mark the points properly. So diagonally you have to go. Similarly here, 2 points below you would get the square. So this is 3 points vertical and 3 points horizontal. So in this way you will get the square which are symmetrical around the rectangle. So these are the squares which are symmetrical around the rectangle. So on the dot paper you have to keep in mind that skip one dot, start from second, or similarly skip one dot diagonally, slanting manner, and start from the second. How do you draw the slanting lines? You join the diagonal points like this. This is how you do the slanting line. So in the same manner here, you must draw a slanting line and connect the dots, and you would get the symmetrical squares around the rectangle. So this is the way you have to draw the figure. Now we move to what did you do to recreate this figure so that the 4 squares are placed symmetrically around the rectangle? Discuss with your classmate. So basically you diagonally reached the corner of the square. Diagonally joining the dots you would say that we joined the diagonal points, joined the dots starting from corner of rectangle to reach first corner of, or you can say first corner of square. Okay, so a bit, but if you have a dot paper you would easily find the points. Just skip 2 dots and reach the 1 dot and reach the second one. So you would get the symmetrical square. So now we move to question number 2. Identify if there are any squares in this collection. Use measurements if needed. Okay, so they are saying that you can use measurements. So basically what would you measure? You would measure the length of the sides and the angles between the sides. So measure the lengths of the sides. Now first figure, oh sorry, this is a dot paper again, so you can count the number of dots which are joined. So in the first figure you have 1 2 3 4 5 dots joined, and other side 1 2 3 4 5. So first one is obviously a, first figure A is a square, because you can write reason, all sides are equal, corners are right angle. Okay, then part B. The part B, now you can see that how many dots are joined, 1 2 3 4 5 and 1 2 3 4 5. The figure is like this. if I join the dots, so figure is like this, 3 4 and one more point it is joining like this, 5, and similarly 1 2 3 4 and then 5. So it is like this, figure is like this. So the dots are same, 5 points, but the angles are not 90 degree. So you can say that the corners are not 90 degree, therefore it is not square. Okay, so this is you may not need the figure, just look at the figure in your book. So for B you can say that corners are not 90 degree, all sides are equal, that you get by counting the number of dots. All sides are equal but the corners are not 90 degree. The third one, again the opening of the figure is greater than L. This is not L, this is more opened as compared to L. So again you would say that the corners, how many dots it has joined, 1 2 3, so it has joined 5 dots, I think, 1 2 3 4 5, but again all sides are equal, but corners are, what kind of angle is this? If it is greater than 90 degree, this is of course greater than 90 degree, L would come this way, this is L, so it is greater than 90 degree. So what type of angle it is? It is obtuse angle. So corners are not 90 degree. We would not write obtuse angle, but for your recalling your what you have studied so far, you can say that this is greater than 90 degrees, so it is not a square. The last one, the points are joined but the sides are not. Okay, so the last one is you will say it is not square. Is not a square because what is the reason? Sides are not equal. Okay, so sides are not equal, but angles are 90 degree, but sides are not equal, so therefore this is also not a square. So in this manner our second question, okay, so it is giving a hint that is it possible to reason out if the sides are equal or not, or if the angles are right or not without using any measuring instrument. So obviously you can, by counting the number of dots, you can find that whether the sides are equal or not. And corners in the dot grid. Okay, so now we move to question number 3. Draw at least 3 rotated squares and rectangles on a dot grid. Draw them such that their corners are on the dots. Verify if the squares and rectangle that you have drawn satisfy their respective properties. So this part we would do in the next class. We will try to make 3 squares and rectangles. You try out similar to question number 2. You try like figure A was a square. So in that manner you can make rotations and make the squares and rectangles. So we wrap up here only. Take care. Have a nice day, class.